Welcome back, everyone. As you probably guessed from the title and the thumbnail, this is the rifle that we are talking about today. This is the Sig Sauer Cross Sawtooth. This particular one is chambered in 308, and this is the latest evolution of the Sig Cross program, if you will. So Sig came out with these several years ago, the base model of these anyway, I should say. Several years ago, they actually approached me at the time and asked if I wanted to do a review, and I said no. It wasn't that they were bad rifles or anything like that, but they just weren't interesting to me. However, the Cross Sawtooth version that this is part of definitely is, and the big reason for that is going to be the weight. So the weight on these is pretty darn light. They did a lot to improve it over the base versions that they have continually updated rather over the years. So the sort of the heart and soul of that, of course, is going to be our barrel. And of course, in each caliber, the barrel length is going to be a little bit different. So in this one here with the 308, we have a 16-inch barrel. It is a proof research barrel. For folks who don't know what proof does for their barrels, it's pretty rad. So they're super lightweight. They are a stainless sleeve, essentially, in the middle of it, where the actual rifling and all of those sorts of things are. And then they have the carbon fiber wrap all the way around it, and it is a heavy profile carbon fiber wrap barrel. However, it still weighs less than most traditional profile barrels. So you get really good rigidity, a very good cooling as well. So it's not really a huge issue when they get hot like it can be for some other rifles. However, of course, the downside of that is that they are not inexpensive. The proof barrels themselves are very, very expensive. You certainly can look around for that. But basically, what is the Cross series? I should probably delve into that before we go into details of the rifle. So most of your common rifles out there are built on one of two platforms, either the Remington 700 or the Mauser series or some version thereof. Sig started from the ground up, and that allowed them to do a number of different things. And basically, in my opinion, the only other rifle that has like large scale adoption that took a similar approach was Q. They did a similar type of thing, and the products actually are pretty similar at the end of what they came up with. There's definitely some differences. That's a video for another day. But this definitely is, I guess, what you can come up with. We don't have to worry about using a Mauser action or Remington action, being chassis compatible with those actions, all of those sorts of things. So I suppose before we get into all the details, let's head out to the range and actually shoot some groups with it and let you guys see how it shoots, and then come back in and walk through it piece by piece. Alrighty, folks, now we're going to lay down a few groups with this particular rifle. Now, I must confess, this is actually the second time I came out here to bench this rifle. The first time I forgot my match ammo, so there was that. And now today, I came out and I forgot my magazine. So we will be single feeding these. I should fast forward through all of it for you guys, so it shouldn't be that bad. For me, it's going to be a little bit annoying. Such is life. So the first load up is going to be this guy here. It's the Sig Sauer Marksman Elite with 175 grain OTM projectile. On there we have the Whiskey 6 3 to 18 scope, target downrange at 100 yards. Caldwell rest. Out at the end of the rifle is the new Dead Air Sandman X. And I think that's pretty much it. So again, I'll try to fast forward through the interim to make this video somewhat fast. As you guys are watching it, it's just going to be painstaking for me shooting it. All right, I'll bet that first round was pretty darn solid. Next load up, we're gonna go with some PMC X-Tac match. This has the 168 grain, I should say, OTM projectile on there. And again, all the ammo you guys have seen in today's video comes from our friends over at Firearms Depot. So big lift for them. 308 is not cheap these days. That said, Firearms Depot has very competitive prices rather. If you guys are looking to pick some up. So again, let's see how this PMC 168 grain load does. That one, I felt like I might have pulled the trigger a little bit on that one, a little really jerk to it, but we'll see. Not too shabby there with the PMC load. Up next, we have some heavy for caliber. This is the Federal Burger 185 rather, grain Juggernaut open tip match. What a name, Juggernaut. All right, let's go take those groups out. Well, as y'all have already seen there with the B camera, looks like the load that it didn't do the best with was the Sig ammo. No idea why, but it is what it is. That actually, I believe, was our first shot, so it might have just been the barrel rifle and getting seasoned. It's entirely possible. We count them all here. So center to center on that one, we're right at 1 3/4 on that one. Then we went over to, I do believe, the PMC load, if I remember correctly. And right there, center to center, we are right at 1 inch on the dot with that one. Then we came down there with the last load and definitely tightened it up for sure. That was the best group for sure with those juggernauts, if you will. The federal load, 3 of them right in the same hole. But yeah, we were looking right there at center to center, right about 5/8 of an inch on that one. So very good accuracy. 2 groups MOA are better. I am not mad about that at all, especially for such a lightweight rig. With the accuracy out of the way, we'll start up here at the end and work our way back. So obviously we have the dead air suppressor on there now. It does come with a radial brake. I'm not a huge fan of brakes in general, but particularly not on a 308, like on a 300 Win Mag or something like that, that actually has some ass to it, if you will. I'm fine with it, but we put the chemo mount on there. And we're running the dead air. We also ran another dead air suppressor that you guys have seen throughout the video as well. And again, moving on back, we have that heavy profile but lightweight proof barrel, carbon fiber wrapped. It is fantastic, shoots well, as you guys saw with the loads that we tested out anyway. Additionally, let's move back here to our, I guess we'll call it our handguard, if you will, because it's kind of part of the chassis, but not, if you will, if that makes sense. It's a separate piece you can swap out if you want to, but it does have M-lock, of course, all the way around. We do have our quick detach sling swivel points there at the front and the rear. Now, one thing I will say about those quick detach points is that they are reinforced, which is good. However, they are still aluminum. So if you're going to be using a steel QD socket, eventually you will wear that out. Additionally, they are rather, if I can speak, anti-rotational. But if you're going to actually use this for like hard use or something like that, I would put a M-lock QD steel socket in there. That's just my recommendation anyway. But very lightweight, as you guys can see here in the execution of it. It also is both M-lock as well as being ARCA compatible. So if you wanted to run this on an ARCA tripod, for example, you absolutely could do so. And it's a very lightweight profile, but still, again, usable. So I do dig that. And the way it clamps up on the receiver and the barrel nut is pretty unique there, as you guys can see. Once again, that's one of the benefits of not having a base rifle, if you will, to start out with, is that you can start from scratch and do things a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Continuing back to the receiver, let's get that stock out of the way and talk about it. Actually, before we do that, note there the way that the stock does fold. It's very flat and compact and folds around the actual bolt itself. So I do dig that. But we'll open it up there so you guys can get a look at the receiver. We do have a 20 MOA rail on there. I did check it from the factory. It does have Loctite on the screws. You'd be shocked how many companies send those things out with their optics rails not Loctited on. And additionally, just like we were talking about there with the handguard, one thing that you'll note is that the optics rail itself kind of clamps in and bites backwards, if you will, once you actually screw it down. Once again, one of those things you can do when you start from scratch that is a little bit innovative and a little bit better than just what we are used to. Of course, it does feed from Magpul AI pattern mags. It does come, interestingly enough, with the Sig Sauer version of the Magpul mag. So I actually didn't even know that was available when I got the rifle in. And what it is it basically has a different follower than the standard AI pattern mag from Magpul. And what it's designed for is it sticks up a little bit higher. It's orange, and it's designed for single loading your rifle. If you guys want to do that, then it makes it a little bit more of a straight angle in. I'm actually surprised Magpul doesn't just run that in all of their magazines, because it seems like a superior system to me with no actual downside. So Sig does have their own follower on this design, which I definitely do dig as well. Looking into the receiver itself, you'll note there that we do have a wide magazine well for inserting your mags. I'm not sure on bolt actions that you're going to have to do a lot of quick reloads, but it is nice. Additionally, you'll note there how easy it is to drop the magazines from either side of the rifle. That mag release is fantastic. And then let's talk about this bolt throw. So again, that is one of the things that definitely differentiates it. It's a shorter bolt throw than most. One thing that's actually I need to bring up before we get into that, or as we get into that, is that when I first got this rifle in, I was using this load here from our friends over at Firearms Depot. That, of course, they provide all the ammo here for the 7.62 rounds. And this is, of course, not 308, 7.62, which should be perfectly safe to shoot in there. And it was. There was no issues with that. But one thing about that arms core load is it was causing my bolt to bind like crazy. And again, the first trip I had to the range, I had like 100 rounds of it. And that's the only thing I brought with me just to kind of break in the rifle, if you will. And I thought there was a problem with the rifle. It was shooting like 6, 7-inch groups. And it was binding my bolt like crazy. And I just couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. Well, it's just the ammo and this rifle, it doesn't like it, bottom line. I tried other ammo that you guys have seen so far in the accuracy, a lot of PMC and other loads, and had 0 issues at all with it. The bolt runs fine, which I do dig, and the bolt throw on it, if you guys can see there, has that little angle. So basically when you fire, you just come up, back, forward, right? It's something that's different than a traditional bolt throw, so you definitely have to practice it. In all fairness to the rifle, rather, I haven't done it justice throughout this process because I haven't spent enough time practicing it, but you absolutely can get quick with it for sure. We had no issues feeding, which is definitely something you have to think about with a bolt gun. A lot of bolt guns have issues feeding with various different types of ammo. I never had that. It's just that arms core, man, it would lock that bolt up like crazy. But yeah, the bolt throw on there, it's hard to kind of say, you know, like for example, Daniel Defense says they have a 60-degree bolt, but with that angle there, it's definitely shorter. I would say it's probably like a 70 or 75-degree bolt throw. It runs nice though, no issues at all on that front. The safety obviously is an AR style safety, as you guys can see there, and you can work the safety regardless of the position it's in, which I do like, as you guys can see there. A lot of bolt guns don't give you that capability. I think it is a nice feature to have. And then let's talk about the trigger. It does have a matched 2-stage trigger from the factory, and it has a flat-ish style shoe that has a little notch in it. And that little notch there is kind of like a reference point. So some people like to be consistent on the trigger all the time, and that notch does enable it, but I will shut up and let you guys see the trigger. It's light. Like if you're used to like AR-15s, you'll think it's really, really light. On my scale, it's breaking right at 1 pound and 10 ounces pretty consistently. And again, has that first stage take up. We'll get another look at it. The first little bit of take up there, and then you're right on the wall. And there's no way that you can blame an errant shot on the trigger. That's a fantastic trigger. I have 0 issues with it at all. Grip obviously is your traditional AR-15 grip. Most of them will work. However, just note there with that high tang on the rear, some of them may not. Moving on to our stock, as you guys already saw, it does fold. It is solid though. For a folding stock, it's one of the more solid designs I have seen. I definitely do dig that. Of course, our cheek piece there is adjustable. You can bring it up and down depending on your personal preferences. One thing I really like about the actual butt pad here is how easy it is to change the position. So it has this little button right here that you guys can probably see. And if I can do it one-handed, I will. Yep, there you go. And you can move it up and down depending on the firing position that you are in. So for example, for a suppressor test, the suppressor, you know, has your 1.6 meters or whatever it has to be elevated at. And so at my height, I kind of have to stand on my tippy toes to get to that. So moving that down definitely makes things like that easier. Same is true, of course, for shooting at a lot of weird angles and things like that, depending on the elevation where you are at, but it clicks in place in multiple positions, which I do dig. Additionally, obviously we have all these little pieces that you guys can see there, those holes. That's what indexes through the cross pin if you want to extend it and make it longer. For me, I think it was perfectly fine. I didn't have to adjust it at all in terms of length. That said, for those of you guys who are new here, I am 5'11" and 3/4. So if you are a very large or very short person, you may have to adjust that. So just know that in terms of the stock. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that Sig had reached out when the original crosses came out, and I wasn't really interested in them. And again, it wasn't that they're bad rifles. It's just that I wanted something a little bit lighter. I think that kind of makes better use of all the different innovative things that they did with the cross rifles. So they did send this one out for review, just full disclosure on that. They also sent it with this optic right here, which is the Whiskey 6 3-18 with an MOA reticle. It's a perfectly functional optic. We had no issues with it at all. I would change the reticle a little bit personally, but that's a video for another day that if you guys want to see, let me know. We can make it. So what do I think of the rifle overall? Well, before we get to that, we got to talk about price point, because that's going to make it relevant, right? So if this rifle was 400 units of measure, I would say it's fantastic and everyone should buy one, but it's not. It's a fairly expensive rifle, as you probably guessed already, based on the feature set that we talked about. So right now, it depends on the caliber and configuration of the cross sawtooth that you're looking at. And I should mention this obviously is a short action style, as you can tell with the short action mags. However, they also make a long action as well in a ton of different calibers. So the price is going to be a little bit different depending on which one you're getting. However, generally speaking, it's going to be north of 2,500 units of measure, so it's not cheap. It's very expensive, in fact, I would say. However, if you just break down the different components that go into this rifle, I don't think it's that crazy. Like, for example, if you look at the proof barrel by itself, I should roll in a photo here so you guys can see the part number on it. So you guys can just put that in Google and see how much this thing costs. It's not an inexpensive barrel. And the barrel is one of the most critical components of a rifle, and particularly in a rifle like this that is lightweight and balances really well. So that price point alone, plus, like I mentioned, all the different things that went into the receiver set here. If you guys wanted to price out something similar with similar features, that's not going to be inexpensive. They did a lot of different lightning features to it, as you guys can see here with the milling all the way around. It has the safety that's functional in all the different positions like we talked about. It has the match 2-stage trigger. It has the stock that has all the fancy features that we talked about. Like, if you were trying to build something similar to this, you're not going to be that far off in terms of price point. And of course, what I just mentioned was MSRP. You may be able to find a sale or something like that on these rifles that's going to knock that down a little bit price point wise. So is it expensive? Yes. Do I think it is an excellent rifle for what it is? I do. It has a lot of features like we talked about that just other bolt actions out there can't do, because again, they're using a legacy design and this one isn't. I do dig that. I like the innovation. Is it a bolt action that everyone should have? No, absolutely not. That's really expensive. There are a lot of good budget bolt action rifles. This absolutely isn't that. This, in my opinion, is for somebody rather who wants a feature-rich rifle, maybe for competitions or something like that, or hunting. That would be kind of my primary purpose for it personally. And it folds down nice and snug if you were to put that on a pack or something like that. Basically, it starts out right there, and it's not going to be that high above you, which certainly is nice when you're going through a brush and things like that. Obviously, the accuracy is very good. The feature set is very good. Sig Sauer is not going away anytime soon. So should you have to have warranty issues or something like that, or you wear a part out, they'll be around most likely for the rest of your life. So that certainly is a good thing as well. So all in all, I think it's a very good rifle. It just depends on what you want out of your bolt action rifle, if it is the one that you should go with, right? Like anything else. So I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about the rifle, anything like that, you can always post those down below in the comments section. As always, you can also post them over at my various social media pages, particularly X. That's where I am the most active these days because I'm the least censored. Shocker. So check me out over there. Additionally, you can hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything on Rumble or YouTube. And basically, my analytics tell me that less than half the people who are watching this video are actually subscribed. So if you want to see more of that content, make sure you do that. If you've done that and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, make sure you are signed up for my email at the website here on your screen. This will get you put on 2 different email lists. It'll get you put on one that goes out once a month, and it has all the videos since the previous month's email went out. So that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content. What a crazy concept. And then additionally, it will get you put on the daily deals email. So if that item, whatever the item is, whether it be magazines, optics, rifles, etc., bipods, if it is in the daily deals email rather, on a given day, it's the cheapest I know of for that product on that day, because I have scoured the web and done the price comparisons for you. So that saves you guys some time and hopefully saves you some money as well. Additionally, there's a good meme in there that a lot of you guys like, and a lot of people sign up just for the meme. I will allow that. Additionally, we have an SMS service that you can sign up for by texting the word gear to the number here on your screen. Just send a text over there on your phone as you're watching this, and that will get you signed up. That contains one of 2 things, either a smoking deal that I know is going to sell out. Like for instance, as of when I'm recording this, I sent a deal out this morning around 11, and then the item was sold out by 12:30. So there is that. Additionally, if I have a new video, we'll send it out via text as well. Once again, getting around that algorithmic censorship and letting you guys actually see my content. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.